There is a moment in every person's life where they stop and whisper to themselves, there's more in me than what I'm living right now. Maybe that moment hits you late at night when everyone else is asleep. Maybe it shows up when you look in the mirror and ask yourself, Bert, is this really all I'm capable of? Let me tell you something. That whisper you keep hearing is not a random thought. It's a calling. It's evidence that there is more inside you, more strength, more power, more courage, waiting to be awakened. You were not designed for average. You were built for more. Part 1, the limits you believe in don't exist. Most people don't fail because they are weak. They fail because they believe a lie. This is just who I am. This is just my life. No, your current situation is not your final destination. The truth is this: you haven't even touched 10% of your strength. You haven't unlocked your deepest potential because comfort has been whispering louder than destiny. Comfort says, stay where you are. Destiny roars, break the wall. There's more on the other side. You have untapped power inside you. Not because you are special, but because every human is born with a greatness they rarely activate. Part 2, pain is not a signal to stop. I tease adore pain as the universe asking you one simple question. How badly do you want what you say you want? Most people run from pain. Champions run through it. When you push past the point where you want to quit, that's where transformation begins. Your unused strength doesn't reveal itself at the start of the journey. It reveals itself when every part of you wants to stop, but your heart says, one more step. That moment, that single decision to push when you don't feel like it, is the birthplace of a new identity. Part 3, you become unstoppable when you change your standard. Your life changes when you change what you tolerate. Most people set goals. The unstoppable set standards. A goal says, I want to be stronger. A standard says, I don't live weak. A goal says, I want to be successful. A standard says, I refuse to settle. When you raise your standard, everything else in your life rises with it. Your habits, your actions, your energy, your outcomes. You don't get what you want. You get what you accept. Stop accepting limitations. Stop accepting excuses. Stop accepting less than your full potential. Part 4, your fear isomap. Follow IT. Fear doesn't show up when you're weak. Fear shows up right before you're about to grow. That thing you're scared to do, that conversation you're avoiding, that project you keep delaying, that's where your growth is hiding. Fear is not a wall. Fear is a compass pointing you toward destiny. Say this out loud. If it scares me, it means it matters. Part 5, you were built for more. Think about every storm you've survived, every setback that should have broken you, every moment where you thought it was over, and yet here you are. You're stronger than your history. You're bigger than what happened to you. You are not here by accident. You are here because you still have a purpose to fulfill. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop waiting for motivation. Stop waiting for approval. You are the moment. Your power is not in the future. It's in the decision you make right now. Stand up inside yourself. Look your excuses in the eye and declare, enough. I am done playing small. You were built for more strength, more courage, more boldness, more impact. The world doesn't need a smaller version of you. The world needs the version of you that is fully awake. Final declaration, say this with me. Out loud, I am done being limited by fear. I am done shrinking to make others comfortable. I am powerful. I am capable. I was built for more because you were. Now go unlock that strength. Your future is waiting. You haven't even tapped into a fraction of your strength. Most limits exist only in your mind. Think about that for a moment. Every time you have said, I can't, what you really meant was, I've reached the edge of my comfort zone. There is a massive difference between those two. One is a fact, the other is a belief, and beliefs can be rewritten. The truth is, your potential is not determined by your circumstances, your environment, or your past. Your potential is determined by one thing, how you think. Every breakthrough in human history came from someone who refused to accept a limit as permanent. They challenged their own thoughts first, and the world second. The real cage is never the situation, it's the thoughts about the situation. When you believe something is impossible, your mind won't even try to find solutions. But when you believe that something is achievable, your mind becomes a machine searching for opportunities. Your limits are not real until you accept them as reality. Most of the barriers that stop you have nothing to do with physical ability, lack of resources, or timing. The barriers are internal. They are built from fear, doubt, and stories you told yourself so many times that they became truth. You say, I'm not ready, or I'm not good enough, or maybe later. Those phrases are walls made out of excuses. The problem is not that the walls exist. The problem is that you believe they are unbreakable. There is a version of you that lives on the other side of your excuses. That version is stronger, bolder, clearer, more fearless, but that version will only appear the moment you challenge your beliefs. You don't grow when things are easy. You grow when you push yourself beyond what feels comfortable, what feels familiar, what feels safe. Comfort is the enemy of strength. Comfort weakens your hunger, blurs your vision, and seduces you into settling. You weren't designed to settle. You were designed to expand. Every time you avoided doing something difficult, something inside you shrank. Every time you faced something difficult and you pushed through it, something inside you grew. Growth is not random. Growth is a deliberate act of defying your own limitations. There are abilities inside you that you haven't discovered because you haven't demanded enough from yourself. Human beings don't show their true power until they're forced to. Pressure is what transforms potential into power. Diamonds are created under pressure, not comfort. Your brain is wired to protect you, not push you. Its job is survival, not greatness. So when you try something new or difficult, your brain says, stop, that's dangerous. Even when it isn't, it confuses discomfort with danger. The moment you try to grow, your own mind becomes your biggest enemy. That voice telling you to quit isn't weakness, it's your brain trying to protect you from change. But nothing great ever came from staying the same. When you feel that resistance, when you hear that voice of hesitation, that is not a sign to stop. That is proof that you are on the edge of growth. Most people only use the strength required to maintain their current life. They don't use the strength required to transform it. You don't know how powerful you really are because you've never been forced to use the power that's been sleeping inside you. Your strength is not revealed in the easy moments of your life. Your strength shows up when life pushes you to the edge and you decide to push back harder. Your strength shows up when you refuse to break, even when you feel tired, scared, or uncertain. Look at your life. Every moment you thought you couldn't survive, every heartbreak, every disappointment, every failure, you survived all of it. You've already proven you're strong. You're still here. If you were weak, you would have fallen apart long ago. The problem isn't your strength. The problem is your awareness of your strength. You underestimate yourself because you focus on the moments you failed instead of the moments you overcame. You focus on the setbacks instead of the recovery. You forget the battles you've already won. Strength is not loud. Strength is not perfection. Strength is the quiet decision to keep going even when you don't know how. Strength is the choice to act. Even when fear is loud, strength is doing what needs to be done. Even when you don't feel ready, you become stronger by doing the things your doubt tells you not to do. The moments that scare you are the moments that shape you. The only way to grow is through discomfort. You don't need more inspiration. You don't need more time. You don't need permission. You need to make a decision. The decision to stop running from challenge and start embracing it. The decision to stop questioning your power and start using it. The decision to stop believing the lie that you are not enough. You are more than enough. You are powerful beyond measure. Every time you delay action, you increase fear. Every time you take action, you increase strength. You have spent years training your mind to believe in limitations. You have said things like, I can't, I don't have what it takes, I've tried before. But those are not truths. They are repetitions. Anything repeated becomes belief. What you speak, you start to believe. What you believe, you begin to act on. And what you act on becomes your life if you want a different life. Start telling yourself a different story. You are not lacking potential. You are lacking belief in your potential. You don't need to discover strength. You need to activate it. It is already there. You were born with more power than you can imagine when you were a child. Before fear and doubt entered your mind, you believed anything was possible. That version of you still exists. That version is waiting for you to stop overthinking and start moving. Everything you want exists beyond fear. Everything you dream of is on the other side of uncertainty. You don't need proof that you are capable. You need courage to start. Action builds confidence. Confidence builds belief. Belief builds strength. Strength builds momentum. Momentum builds transformation. The moment you take one courageous step, the universe opens doors you didn't even know existed. Your potential expands every time you choose action over fear, courage over hesitation, discipline over excuses. You are not limited. You are limitless. But your thinking has placed boundaries around what you believe is possible. Remove the boundaries and you remove the limits. You don't owe anyone a smaller version of yourself. Stop shrinking. Stop dimming your power. Stop playing safe. You are capable of more than you have ever allowed yourself to believe because you haven't even tapped into a fraction of your strength. Pain is not a reason to stop. It's the doorway to your next level of growth. Pain is the universal signal that something is changing, not something breaking, something shifting, awakening, transforming. But most people misinterpret. They feel discomfort and assume it means they should retreat. They feel struggle and assume it means they've reached their limit. Pain isn't the end of the road. Pain is the beginning of a new version of you. Pain is the threshold between who you are and who you're becoming. If you run from it, you remain the same. If you face it, you evolve. Every extraordinary transformation in life demands discomfort. The gym teaches us the same lesson. Muscles only grow by being torn first. You don't get stronger from comfort. You get stronger by pushing past resistance. When the burn shows up, that's the body saying, right here, this is where growth begins. Pain marks the exact moment where most people quit, but for the few who don't, pain becomes the gateway to power. Most humans live their lives avoiding pain, emotional pain, physical pain, mental pain. They avoid difficult conversations, challenging pursuits, risks, rejection, anything that threatens their ego or identity. They think avoiding discomfort protects them. What they don't realize is that avoiding pain guarantees stagnation. When you run from discomfort, you run from growth. Every dream you have exists on the other side of something uncomfortable. Pain is the toll you pay for evolution. There are two kinds of pain in life: the pain of discipline and the pain of regret. The pain of discipline weighs grams. The pain of regret weighs tons. Discipline is temporary. Regret is permanent. Pain of discipline builds strength. Pain of regret builds bitterness. When you avoid the short-term discomfort of growth, you choose the long-term suffering of staying the same. If something hurts because it's stretching you, that's not punishment, that's preparation. It's the path to who you were meant to be. Think of every hardship you've ever survived, every heartbreak, every moment where life felt heavier than you were built to carry. You didn't break, you adapted, you became someone new, you gained resilience. Pain sharpened you, pain toughened you, pain taught you lessons comfort never could. You didn't grow despite the pain, you grew because of it. Too many people believe success is a result of talent, luck, or timing, but real success is built on one decision: the decision to push through pain instead of escaping it. Pain is not a signal that you're weak. Pain is proof that you are stretching into new territory. Pain is evidence of growth in progress. When everything inside you wants to stop, that is the moment you are closest to a breakthrough. Your body wants comfort. Your mind wants safety. Your soul wants expansion. Pain is simply the resistance between those desires. It's the friction created when you leave your old life behind. Growth never feels good while it's happening. It feels messy, uncertain, frustrating, exhausting. It's supposed to. You are shedding an old identity. You are letting go of patterns, habits, beliefs, and fears that once felt familiar. Pain is the emotional cost of transformation. If you allow it, pain becomes your greatest teacher. Pain brings clarity. Pain brings perspective. Pain brings awareness. It forces you to examine who you are and who you truly want to be. Comfort never forces that level of honesty. When you avoid pain, you reinforce your limits. When you embrace pain, you expand them. Every time discomfort shows up, you have two choices: collapse into it or grow through it. Those who collapse believe life is happening to them. Those who grow understand life is happening for them. Pain is the universe shaping you into the person capable of handling what you've asked for. The bigger the dream, the more transformational the pain you will face, not because life is cruel, but because the version of you that can hold that dream doesn't exist yet. Pain is the sculptor that reveals your strength. You may think you're struggling because you are weak, but the truth is you are struggling because you are strong enough to handle the transformation. If you were weak, life wouldn't challenge you. You are being stretched because you asked for more. Growth and comfort cannot coexist. If you choose comfort, you choose average. If you choose growth, you choose pain temporarily, so you can live powerfully permanently. When you push through pain, you build proof that you can endure, proof that you can overcome, proof that you can do hard things. Proof is the foundation of confidence. Confidence doesn't come from compliments or achievements. It comes from pushing yourself through moments you didn't think you could get through. Every time you continue when quitting seems easier, you prove to your mind that you are capable of more. Pain also creates gratitude. You don't appreciate strength until you've been weak. You don't appreciate peace until you face chaos. You don't appreciate growth until you've overcome struggle. Without pain, life would feel flat, meaningless. Pain adds depth to your victories. Imagine winning without trying. Imagine success without struggle. There would be no pride, no satisfaction, no fulfillment. It's the challenge that gives achievement value. You don't need to love pain. You just need to understand what it means. Pain is not an enemy. Pain is not a barrier. Pain is feedback. It tells you that you are moving. It signals that you are changing. Pain says, we're breaking away from who you were. Pain is not asking you to stop. pain is asking you to keep going. When your legs shake, keep going. When your voice trembles, keep going. When your heart is racing and your mind is unsure, keep going. You don't build strength by stopping. You build strength by pushing just one more moment further than you thought possible. Life will test you, not to stop you, but to reveal you. Pain is the catalyst that reveals your true capacity when life challenges you. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Start asking, what is this trying to teach me? You will be shocked by how quickly your power shifts. You move from victim to creator, from powerless to unstoppable, from fragile to unbreakable. Pain shapes leaders. Pain shapes champions. Pain shapes incredible human beings. Every mountain you climb, every setback you face, every internal battle you fight, you are being refined. There is a stronger version of you waiting to emerge. All you have to do is stop interpreting pain as the end and start recognizing it as the beginning. Your life changes the moment you raise your standards, not when you set goals. Anyone can set a goal. Anyone can write a list of things they want. Anyone can say, one day I will, but goals are wishes without gravity. Goals are intentions without commitment. People set goals all the time. At the beginning of the year, after a bad moment when motivation spikes, they write them down, feel excited for a day or a week, then return to old habits. Why? Because the standard never changed. A goal is something you want. A standard is something you refuse to live without. A goal lives in your mind. A standard lives in your identity. The truth is, you don't get what you want. You get what you tolerate. If you tolerate excuses, you'll live a life full of them. If you tolerate procrastination, you'll accept a life of almost. If you tolerate low effort, you'll tolerate low results. Standards are the blueprint of your destiny. Your entire life right now, your health, your career, your confidence, your relationships is a reflection of the standards you have accepted up until this moment. The moment you decide, I will no longer tolerate this, everything changes, not gradually, instantly. Change begins at the moment of decision. Most people have goals that sound like wishes. I want to be healthier. I want to make more money. I want to be more confident. But wanting isn't enough. You can want something for 10 years and never move toward it. A standard sounds like this. I don't skip workouts. I don't allow laziness in my life. I don't speak negatively about myself. When something becomes a standard, it becomes non-negotiable. It's not about motivation. It's not about how you feel. It's just who you are. Your standards shape your identity. Your identity shapes your behavior. And your behavior shapes your destiny. When the standard rises, everything else rises with it. Your habits, your decisions, your focus, your energy. Imagine two people with the same goal to get fit. One sets a goal, the other raises a standard. The first person says, I'll try to work out 3 times this week. The second person says, I am the kind of person who trains daily. Which one will become unstoppable? The one who changed their identity. Goals motivate you. Standards transform you. When you set a goal, you are operating from desire. When you raise a standard, you are operating from conviction. Desire is weak when stress or doubt shows up. Conviction is unshakable. Desire fades. Standards endure. Think about the moments in your life where everything changed. It wasn't when you hoped for more. It was when you decided you were done with less. You didn't transform because you wanted to. You transformed because you refused to live another day at the same level. People change for only 2 reasons. Their standards rise or life forces them to. When life collapses, people have no choice but to rise. But true power is raising your standard before pain forces you to. Successful people don't wait for crisis to transform. They don't wait until their health collapses, their finances fall apart, their relationships break down. They change because they choose to, not because they have to. They choose to raise their standards every single day, especially when they don't feel like it. Raising your standard demands sacrifice. It demands discomfort. It demands discipline. Because the moment you raise your standard, your old patterns will fight back. Laziness will whisper. Doubt will speak. Your comfort zone will try to seduce you. And that's where the shift happens. When you stop negotiating with your excuses, when you stop giving your emotions the steering wheel, when you decide that how you feel does not control what you do. A standard is not a feeling. A standard is a rule, a law, a line that cannot be crossed. When you raise your standards, excuses become irrelevant. You don't ask, I feel like doing this today. You ask, what do I expect from myself? There's a version of you that doesn't need motivation to take action. They act because they have high standards. They act because they refuse to settle. They act because that's just who they are. Look at your habits. They reveal your standards more clearly than anything you say. If you want to know someone's future, look at what they do daily, not what they intend to do someday. Results don't lie. Standards don't lie. Your life right now is a mirror. Don't judge yourself, just observe. You are living at the level you decided is acceptable. If you want a different life, raise what you demand from yourself. Raising your standard does not mean doing something extreme. It means refusing to drop below a minimum. You don't raise your standard by setting huge goals. You raise it by eliminating the option of going backwards. You can start small. No more snoozing the alarm. No more negative self-talk. No more saying yes when you should say no. No more wasting hours scrolling. No more eating like you don't care about your future. No more shrinking yourself to make others comfortable. Every time you honor a small standard, you strengthen your identity, and identity compounds. There is a powerful shift that happens when your standard becomes higher than your excuses. Your decisions become easier. The internal debate disappears. Discipline stops feeling like effort. It becomes your natural state. You don't need to feel motivated to act. You are simply acting in alignment with who you are committed to being. When you raise your standards, the world responds. People treat you differently. Opportunities begin to appear. You attract relationships, environments, and outcomes that match your energy. Life reflects what you demand, not what you desire. If you demand excellence from yourself, you attract excellence around you. If you accept mediocrity from yourself, you attract mediocrity. The universe responds to your energy, not your wishes. You teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. You teach life what to give you by what you expect from yourself. If your expectations are low, your results will be low. If your standards are high, your results will rise to meet them. You were not born to be average. You were not designed to be ordinary. But in order to rise, you must refuse to settle. Greatness is not given. Greatness is not luck. Greatness is earned by repeatedly honoring your standards, even when it's uncomfortable. Especially when it's uncomfortable. Consistency without compromise. That is the formula. You cannot become the best version of yourself while maintaining the standards of the person you used to be. The moment you raise your standard, a new world opens. Your mind begins to search for ways to make your new identity real. You start making decisions that align with a higher version of yourself. You start acting like the person you want to become, not the person you have been. And as you act differently, your life changes automatically. Identity first, action second, results third. Raise who you are and everything else adjusts. There is nothing more powerful than a person who decides that average is no longer acceptable. There is nothing more unstoppable than someone who raises their standard and refuses to negotiate with themselves. Your new life is waiting for you, but it requires a new standard from you. Fear isn't a barrier. It's a compass pointing toward what matters most. Fear appears exactly at the edge of your potential. It doesn't show up when you do things that are familiar, predictable, or safe. Fear shows up when something matters, when something has the power to change your life. The presence of fear is proof of significance. If it didn't matter, you wouldn't be scared. People misunderstand fear. They believe fear is a signal to stop. They think fear is a warning that something is dangerous or impossible. But most of the time, fear is not pointing at danger. It's pointing at growth. Fear is the doorway to your next level, and most people never walk through it. They let fear talk them into staying small. Fear's job is simple: to protect your ego, your identity, your comfort zone. Fear wants to keep you where you've always been, surrounded by everything you already know. The brain loves familiarity, even if familiarity is limiting. Your potential lives outside that boundary. So of course the brain reacts with fear. Fear shows up not to stop you, but to test how much you really want what you say you want. Fear whispers, what if you fail? Courage answers, what if I don't? Fear says, you're not ready. Growth says, ready is created through action. Fear says, stay here where it's safe. Your purpose says, go there where you'll evolve. Every breakthrough requires walking towards something uncertain, and that uncertainty brings fear. Nobody becomes fearless. Fearlessness is not the goal. The goal is to take action even when fear is loud. Every person you admire, the ones who built careers, changed their bodies, started businesses, transformed their lives, did not do it because they had no fear. They did it because they refused to let fear decide the course of their life. They used fear as direction. They felt fear and moved anyway. That's real courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is deciding that something else is more important than fear. You can measure your growth by the size of the fear you are willing to walk toward. If your dreams don't scare you, they are too small. If your goals are within the limits of what you already know, you're not growing. If everything you do feels safe, familiar, and within your control, you are not evolving. Growth requires risk. Growth requires stepping into unknown territory. Growth demands that you leave behind who you've been in order to become who you were meant to be. Fear stands at that doorway every time asking, are you sure? And most people spend their entire lives answering no. Fear disguises itself in reasonable statements. What if it doesn't work? What will people think? What if I embarrass myself? But you need to understand something. Fear is very convincing, but it is not telling the truth. Fear creates illusions. Fear magnifies worst-case scenarios that almost never happen. Fear is not reality. It is imagination used against you. When fear speaks, it shows you a future where you lose. That is not intuition. That is your brain trying to protect you from emotional discomfort. Fear is trying to protect you from failure, but in doing so, it protects you from growth. The irony is that avoiding fear causes more pain than facing fear. You will suffer more from the dreams you never chase than from the mistakes you make trying to chase them. Regret haunts longer than failure ever will. Failure stings for a moment. Regret lasts a lifetime. Fear wants you to believe that safety is peace, but safety is stagnation. Safety is smallness. The comfort zone is where your dreams quietly die. The life you want will require you to feel fear and move anyway. The discomfort you avoid is the breakthrough you seek. Most people wait for the fear to disappear before taking action. They tell themselves, when I feel more confident, I'll do it. When I'm ready, I'll start. When the fear goes away, I'll take the leap. But fear doesn't leave first. Action leaves first. Confidence comes from taking the step. Readiness is something you build by starting. You don't get courage and then act. You act and courage arrives. Fear shrinks when you move. Fear grows when you hesitate. The longer you wait, the stronger fear becomes. Action weakens fear. Inaction feeds it. You don't overcome fear by thinking about it. You overcome fear by doing what fear is trying to stop you from doing. Every time you move toward what scares you, you expand your capacity, you expand your belief, you expand your identity. You become someone who trusts themselves. You build evidence that you can handle uncertainty. And after a few experiences, you begin to realize something powerful. The fear was only big before you walked through it. Once you take action, the fear loses its power. It was never the obstacle. The story about the obstacle was the obstacle. Fear shows you the path that matters. The things you fear most are the things that mean most to your growth. The conversation you're afraid to have. The decision you're afraid to make, the step you're afraid to take, that fear is not random. It is a sign that it matters. If the idea of doing something keeps you up at night, if you think about it constantly, if your soul feels pulled toward it, that is not fear trying to warn you. That's fear trying to hide your calling. Whenever fear shows up, instead of asking, how do I get rid of this? Start asking, what is this fear trying to point me toward? Fear highlights the exact area where growth exists. Fear reveals where your next level of courage lies. Fear is a map. It is not an enemy. It is a guide. If you follow your fear, you follow your destiny. Every major shift in your life will be preceded by fear. Every major victory will require a moment of uncertainty. Every breakthrough will require walking towards something you cannot predict. There is a simple truth many people ignore. Fear and excitement feel the same in the body. The racing heart, the sweaty palms, the adrenaline, the anticipation. The only difference is the story you attach to the sensation. Fear says, this could go wrong. Excitement says, this could change everything. Change the story, change your life. Instead of saying, I'm scared, start saying, I'm experiencing growth. Instead of saying, what if I fail? Start saying, what if this works? Your fear becomes fuel the moment you stop treating it like a danger signal. The people who achieve extraordinary outcomes don't wait for fear to leave. They move with fear. They speak with fear. They show up with fear. They take the leap while fear is still screaming in their mind. At some point, you must choose which voice to obey. The voice of fear or the voice of potential. One will keep you safe, small, predictable. The other will make you powerful, transformed, unstoppable. Fear will always show up. Every time you grow, fear will reappear at the new level. You cannot outrun fear, but you can outgrow it. The version of you on the other side of fear is stronger, bolder, and more capable than you can imagine. Every time you walk toward fear, you prove to yourself that you are bigger than what scares you. Fear loses power when you step forward. You gain power when you do. You were built for more. The world needs the version of you that refuses to settle. Inside you, there is a version you haven't met yet. The version who is bold, decisive, powerful, unafraid to take up space. Not because fear disappears, but because courage finally becomes louder. That version of you is not found through wishing, dreaming, or hoping. That version of you is revealed the moment you stop shrinking to fit your surroundings and start expanding into your potential. Every day you live below your capability, a part of you feels restless. That restlessness is not insecurity, it's potential demanding expression. It's greatness knocking on the door of your comfort zone. You weren't put on this earth to coast. You weren't created to blend into mediocrity. You weren't designed to simply exist. You were built for impact. You were built to grow. You were built to influence your world, not be shaped by it. Deep down, you know it. There have been moments where you felt flashes of that power, moments where everything inside you said, I can do more. Maybe you buried that thought because you feared failure. Maybe you worried about what others would say. Maybe you convinced yourself to be realistic. There is nothing realistic about suppressing your potential. You were not born with greatness just to keep it hidden. You were not given a mind capable of vision only to spend your life making excuses. You were not blessed with strength to play small. You were designed with intention, with gifts, with fire. The world doesn't benefit when you dim that fire. The world benefits when you let it burn. Refusing to settle is not arrogance. Refusing to settle is self-respect. Every time you accept less than you know you deserve, you break a promise to yourself. Every time you allow your inner critic to win, you weaken your belief in what is possible. When you settle, you create a pattern. Your brain learns that it's okay to give up. It learns that discomfort is a sign to stop instead of a sign to grow. And the worst part, you start building a life around compromise instead of possibility. But here's the truth. You are only one decision away from changing the entire direction of your life. The decision to stop living like a diluted version of yourself. The decision to stop editing your dreams to fit your current circumstances. The decision to stop lowering your potential to match your surroundings. You are not obligated to remain where you are. You are allowed to evolve. You are allowed to want more growth, more joy, more challenge, more purpose. There will always be people who are comfortable with average, who play small, who choose fear over potential. You cannot let those people influence your path. If someone is bothered by your growth, it's because your courage exposes their complacency. Let them stay where they are. You have somewhere else to be. You don't expand by staying within the limits of other people's expectations. You expand by stepping into the unknown. Every breakthrough you desire will require you to break from the crowd. You will not get to a higher level following the masses. Masses follow comfort. Leaders follow vision. And that version of you, the one who refuses to settle, is a leader. You don't need permission to rise. You don't need approval to chase your vision. You don't need validation to be powerful. The world needs your strength, not your hesitation. Your life shifts the moment you decide that your potential is no longer optional. It's required. Your unique gifts, your perspective, your energy, your voice. Someone needs exactly what you carry. There are people who will be impacted by your courage. There are opportunities waiting for you to step into them. The world is not waiting for another copy of someone else. It's waiting for the real you. If you want to know who you're meant to be, look at what excites you and scares you at the same time. That tension is direction. That is your soul pulling you toward your purpose. The goal is not to be comfortable. The goal is to feel fully alive. Being alive is not the same as living. Living begins when you stop settling. You were not built to stay at level 1. You were built to evolve into level 2, level 5, level 10, level unlimited. The problem is not capability. The problem is permission. Stop waiting for permission. No one is coming to save you. No one is coming to choose you. No one is coming to hand you your dream. But the moment you choose yourself, everything changes. Life responds to boldness. Life responds to those who move first. Life responds to those who refuse to settle. You have no idea how much. Potential is trapped under the layers of doubt you've accumulated over the years. Layers built from criticism, from comparison, from past mistakes, from fear. But mistakes don't define you. Fear doesn't define you. Failure doesn't define you. What defines you is how loudly you rise after every setback. Strength isn't built by success. It's built by choosing not to quit. You don't need perfection. You need persistence. Every version of you that settled, tolerated less, accepted excuses, thank them. They got you here, but don't take them with you. The next level of your life requires a new standard, a new mindset, a new courage, a new identity. You cannot enter the future as the same person who played small in the past. When you stop settling, you stop surviving and start living, you stop being influenced and start influencing. You stop reacting to the world and start shaping it. There is someone out there right now waiting for you to step into your full power, because when you do, it will give them permission to do the same. Your breakthrough becomes someone else's inspiration. Your courage becomes someone else's blueprint. Your decision to refuse mediocrity opens a path for others to follow. You were built for more, not because you're better than anyone else, but because there is a fire inside you that won't be extinguished, a vision that refuses to die, a pull toward greatness you can't ignore. That is not coincidence. That is calling. The world needs people who are willing to lead from their gifts, not their fears. And something in you already knows you are meant to be one of those people. Stop downplaying who you are. Stop hiding your strength because others feel threatened by it. Stop pretending you're small when everything inside you knows you are destined for more. You don't grow into greatness. You step into it. You declare it. You claim it. You embody it. You are built for more. And it's time to live like it.